Hello, join me as I dive deep into Psalm 37:13 and try to uncover its true meaning. Can I figure it out before the video ends? Alright, today I'm talking about Psalm 37:13, and it says, "But the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he knows their day is coming." See, Psalm 37:13 is part of a larger wisdom psalm that contrasts the fate of the righteous and the wicked. The verse presents God's perspective on schemes of the wicked. The divine laughter mentioned here is not a jovial response, but a representation of God's sovereignty and the futility of opposing God's will. So the phrase, "their day is coming," refers to the future time of judgment. And this concept is consistent with the biblical theme of divine justice, where wrongdoing will ultimately be addressed by God. It is a fascinating verse that has sparked much debate and discussion among scholars and believers alike. Now, it's located in the book of Psalms, of course, and it's a passage that speaks directly to our deepest concerns about justice and even divine retribution and the nature of God. Now, in this verse, we're presented with a seemingly contradictory scenario. The wicked prosper while the righteous suffer. It's a theme that resonates deeply with our everyday experiences. Making Psalm 37:13, really, it's a crucial passage for understanding God's ways. And one of the main struggles that people face when interpreting Psalm 37:13 is reconciling the apparent triumph of the wicked with the notion of a just and loving God. So it's a conundrum that has puzzled scholars and theologians for centuries, actually. How can we make sense of a world where the wicked seem to get away with all their evil deeds while the righteous are left to suffer in silence? Well, this question has sparked heated debates, with some arguing that God is either powerless or uncaring, while others propose that the wicked will ultimately face divine retribution. So, moreover, this verse raises important questions about the timing of God's justice. If the wicked are allowed to prosper in this life, when can we expect God to intervene on behalf of the righteous? Is it in this life, or is it in the afterlife? So these questions have significant implications for how we live our lives and respond to the challenges we face. Furthermore, Psalm 37:13 challenges our understanding of God's nature. If God is a God of love and justice, why does he seem to laugh at the wicked, as the verse suggests? Is this laughter a sign of indifference, or is it a sign of something more profound? Well, we'll explore these questions as we delve deeper into the historical and theological background of Psalm 37. So, the book of Psalms, it is a collection of ancient Hebrew poetry and hymns, and it was written during a time of great turmoil and upheaval. The authors of the Psalms were grappling with the same questions that we face today. How can we trust in God who seems absent or uncaring? And how can we make sense of a world that seems to be spinning out of control, right? Well, Psalm 37 is a remarkable example of this grappling, as the author expresses his own doubts and fears while also affirming his trust in God's sovereignty. So in Psalm 37:13, we're given a glimpse of God into God's perspective on the wicked. The Hebrew word used for laugh implies a sense of scorn or derision rather than amusement, okay? So this laughter is not a sign of God's indifference, but rather a sign of his contempt for the wicked and their schemes. This is a crucial insight, as it reveals that God is not passive or disengaged from our human affairs. Rather, he is actively involved even when we can't see it. So this has profound implications for believers. If God is actively engaged in human history, working to bring about justice and righteousness, then we can have hope, even in the darkest times. We can trust that God is working behind the scenes even when we can't see it. This is the comforting message of Psalm 37:13. See, in the passage, we're reminded that God's justice is not limited to this life. While the wicked may seem to prosper now, their fate is sealed. God will ultimately bring justice, and the righteous will be vindicated. This passage is a message of hope and reassurance, reminding us that God is always working to bring about His purposes, even when we can't see it. So let's recap just the main points that I've discussed, okay? Psalm 37:13 is a complex and challenging passage that it raises important questions about God's nature and justice. And by examining the historical and theological background of the psalm, we're gained a deeper understanding of God's perspective on the wicked. We've seen that God's laughter is not a sign of indifference, but rather a sign of His contempt for evil. And we've been reminded that God is always working to bring about justice and righteousness, even when we can't see it. Praise His holy name. Thank you for joining me on this journey into Psalm 37:13. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the passage, what insights you may have gained, and how it's impacted your understanding of God's justice. Let me know in the comments below, and if you're interested in exploring more biblical interpretations, be sure to check out my next video, where at that time I'll dive deep into another fascinating message. I appreciate you sticking around. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.